Alright guys, welcome back to episode 2 of Spitfire. So, in this episode we're just doing full, basically the jack shaft is what we're getting to today. So, a lot of parts have come in. As you can see, I got some new air filters. They fit in there perfectly, just how we planned them out to be. And I got a new pole handle, because this one was missing. Just a few things like that. And then the bearings came, the axle came, and the front sprocket came, as you can see down there. And we got a few other things from Tractor Supply and Ace to kind of finish everything up. So we're going overkill with everything because that's kind of the theme of this channel. So we're doing double shear on these. There's going to be 2 of these per bearing. Like that, and then they're going to kind of, you know, wrap onto a tube like that, and we can weld both sides. And then we have some 5/8 bolts that'll go through, so that'll be super cool. And then if we ever need to take the jack shaft out, you know, just take 4 bolts out and it'll actually just come out, which will be cool. I got this style of bearing because I figured making brackets like this would be easier than trying to drill through a tube and making it mount perfect, and we'd have to space it anyway. So I went with this style of bearing, and I think it's going to work out really well. First thing I'm going to do is just get all these holes drilled and cut out. I believe that's 5/8. Yes. 5/8 is 1/3 from the top. That's 5/8. Nice. You could probably just punch it out from this side. Perfect. We're using this because both of my 5/8 drill bits are pretty dang hammered, so this works good. Just gotta do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. Pretty simple. Smells like a campfire. Oh yeah. All the wood shavings on the ground. There they are. Nice. Just need to do a little bit of cleanup work, and then they'll be ready to weld on. This is a little overkill, I will admit, but you don't want to underbuild something. You don't want it blowing up in your back.
Definitely not.
Your back's right there, so I'd rather overbuild it.
Yeah.
Then find shrapnel on my back. So I'm gonna clean these up and we can start tacking them in. Okay, so these are all done now. It's definitely not perfect. I don't have a CNC plasma cutter or anything, but they're pretty dang close. And I couldn't get the grinder quite in there all the way, so it's not the prettiest in there, but bottom's flat, and I bolted all 4 of them together and we did the bottom. So they're all the same distance, and then you can see it'll go right onto a tube like that, and then I can weld both sides of it like that, and it's just gonna be ridiculously strong. So these will just go in there like that and bolt or weld to these tubes here, and that'll be the jack shaft mounts. So super happy with how those turned out. That's going to be super strong. And then I also have front sprocket came. It's a 10 tooth. I'm doing number 50 chain because this thing's got some power. So I started out with the smallest sprocket I can get. I can always go bigger, and then I got a 48 tooth for the back. So it's a 10 tooth to a 48 tooth. So it's about almost 1:5 or 5:1 ratio. So it's about a 5:1 ratio, 4:1, 5:1 in that area. I don't know if it's gonna be right, but it's a starting place. And like I said, I can always go bigger on this sprocket. It'll all come apart, and these are only like 10-15 bucks, so I can always go up a sprocket size with not too big of a deal. And then I also went to Tractor Supply and picked up a bunch of these. These are just some collars with a 1-inch diameter inside, so you know, I'll be able to put them up here and the chain will clear and everything. So the whole jack shaft is going to have spacers in between the bearings and the sprocket and everything, so it can all be clamped together tightly and not have any play in there, and this isn't going to wander or anything like that. You don't have to, I'm not going to rely on the set screws to keep it in place or anything like that. It'll have these spacers across the whole thing. So it's going to be super strong, and it'll also look cool because these are kind of a gold color. But I'm going to have to cut some of these down because this one will have to go on the outside to space out the secondary pulley properly. But I'm going to get all that stuff mounted tomorrow. That's all the time I have today, just because we've been playing with ideas and planning how it's all going to work. That takes a lot of time. So tomorrow we're going to get the jack shaft mounted and put into place, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do with all the extra length and stuff. I got some plans for that, so we'll be back tomorrow. Alright, so I got the jack shaft all tacked in as you saw with the time lapse, so now I'm just going to kind of explain it a little bit. So this is a solid axle kit for like a go-kart. You know, if you're upgrading your go-kart to a solid axle or whatever, so that's what this is. So it has threads on the end so you can tighten this nut down, and then it's got all these spacers in here. They're a little bit loose right now, but once we tighten this nut down, it'll kind of tighten everything together, and since it has spacers, you know, it'll ride perfectly on these bearings and it'll all be tight. And then we got this collar. This is just a kind of like a lock collar thing with a 1-inch hole on the end of here, and we're just going to weld that onto the end and then cut this off on my super straight marking because this has to be straight. No, that doesn't matter a whole lot. That's just a rough idea just to cut it there, you know. So we'll weld that all the way on, and then it'll basically be an axle. And it's got just barely a little bit of recess in there, so that when we tighten this nut down, it just takes the slop out of this, but it won't over tighten. So we can crank that down nice. And yeah, and then you pull the nut off and the whole thing will come out, and these will unbolt. So it'll all come apart. Having this welded on doesn't prevent it from coming apart or anything. It's just a stop. So, and then that way we don't need a lathe to drill and tap these or anything like that. So yeah, I think it's gonna work out really well. And we just got the rear sprocket in the mail. So now we have everything we need. I also fished out our gas tank. This is the original gas tank that went with this buggy. We're gonna use that again. We're gonna put it like in here with the driver. So we got everything we need to get this thing running. So we're gonna get going on it and see how much progress we can get done today.
So I didn't really show a lot of this, but we cut it in half,
Yeah.
and it fit real good. Got all the bolts in, no issues. Real good. Sprocket to sprocket alignment is almost perfect.
Yeah, so we're gonna throw a chain on it right now.
Let's see. Right there.
Let's see.
Really good.
You can see everything rotating together.
Throw the chain on it right now. Let's turn the light back on. Hell yeah.
Boy Colin.
What?
Got video boy Colin here.
Yeah, we call him
360.
360 no scope.
Ah.
Oh, you're videoing?
Video, man.
Oh, you're rolling. Okay. So right now we're just working on getting the chain length set. We were working on building the tensioner. We'll show you a bit more of that later. But for right now, we're just getting the chain as tight as we can with where everything is, and then we'll add the tensioner in underneath. So it seems like it's going to be about right here. So we're just going to cut the rest of the chain off and put the master link in there, and then I'll show you more on this tensioner. Okay, so I think we got all the pieces ready. So we're just gonna try. That washer's not fast, but some washers in there. Boom. There's a tensioner. So then this is going to go right in here.
Like so.
Alright, so as you can see, we got the tensioner welded in, and then we got the spring there as well, holding tension on it. So it's gonna work really good. So the next thing we're gonna do is just add some bracing in here between these two, and then also between these two, because a lot of force is going to be pulled on these bars, so we want to tie it right into this strong part. And then also there's no supports going this way on them, so we're just going to run one there, and then we'll probably end up running one from here up to here as well on each side, because we cut that out as well. So
close is that to being right? Pretty close. Alright, so I got those braces tacked in, one there, and then one on the other side.
So that's all tacked in. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut the end of this exhaust off, this expansion chamber. So see how it bends that way? I need it to bend the other way. So I'm just going to cut it off, spin it around, and see if I can get it to fit better in here and give clearance for the seat. So I'm going to get that cut off.
Alright, so as you guys saw, I got the expansion chamber. I cut it in two places and just rotated it a little bit just to get it to
Fit a little better there, and we put a seat in there, and there is plenty of clearance for a seat. So
right now it's just kind of held on with some baling wire.
but we are going to see if we can get this thing to fire on some starting fluid just for a minute, or a second I mean, and then we're going to probably have to pull this thing out and get back to work, because we got a couple more vehicles we got to work on. So we've been super busy with work, so we haven't got as much progress done as we wanted to, but we got the whole jack shaft and everything made, so that's pretty big. So we're just going to see if we can hear it fire up and then pull it out and pull on another project. Hopefully get that done quickly so we can get back to work on this.